Hi everyone, welcome to the pilot episode of Mick and Nick from Aspen. Woohoo! I'm Michael Sandler of the Inspire Nation Show, along with Nicholas Vesey of the Aspen Chapel. Together we're bringing you fun, topical, deep conversations on life, spirituality, and how in the world to navigate the world. Today we'll talk about the antidote to fear, or how to lean into fear and come out shining bright. So sit back, enjoy the show, and above all else, shine bright. Woohoo! So welcome everybody on YouTube, on TV, radio, wherever you're listening to us. I'm Michael Sandler of the Inspire Nation Show. This is
Nicholas Vesey of the Aspen Chapel.
And we are coming to you live or pre-recorded, as the case may be. From Aspen. We are going to talk about your favorite, most important topics to help you dive deep, to help you make great transitions, to help you change your life and your world, to help change the entire world. So what are we going to be talking about today?
Fear, that's what we're going to be talking about.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yes, dear Lord.
And funny that we're recording it in a chapel to be saying that.
That's right.
So we are going to talk about the antidote to fear, or how we can literally lean into fear and come out shining on the other side. I don't see fear, it's crazy, and we are living in an incredibly crazy time. I don't see fear as what people think it is. I see it as a gift. I see it as a guide. What do you see it as?
I mean, for me, so much of our economy nowadays seems to be run by fear.
An industry of fear.
It's industry. It is almost the industrialization of fear. If you look at our military, that the whole thing is based on fear. Fear, terrorists are coming, therefore we need to spend more money on military. Terrorists are coming, therefore we need to reduce our civil liberties to make sure everybody's okay. The bad guys are out there, we need to lock them up. Privatized prisons, privatized industrial complex, privatized intelligence. All of us, have got home security systems that are huge. Huge amounts of the things that we do are based upon fear. Cosmetics, a lot of that's based upon fear. What we eat, what we drink. We're told what's not right. And sometimes we just get that feeling, we think, well, I've got a feeling of whatever it is, but I would say fear, and therefore what I want to do is cut down on my cholesterol, I want to get a new home security system, I want to do this, I want to do that, lock them all up, send them all back to where they came from. Fear is what I think a lot of the time the government uses to persuade us that we should allow things that we think are completely unacceptable. We allow children to be locked up, we allow things to happen, and we do that because we are concerned about what's going on in our country. We are concerned. And the excuse we use is we are concerned citizens, which really means we are fearful citizens.
And to me, I look at the reverse of this. So first off, you talk about what we're doing with our kids. Can you imagine if even 20 years ago we were frisking kids at the airport? Unheard of. But really, the greatest fear, the greatest terrorist is actually inside here. That we wall ourselves up, that we bottle up this fear rather than exploring it, rather than, I have a term that I like to use called the open-hearted warrior. It's a way of living life by dropping down, opening your shields, or letting your shields down and leaning forward into life. And understanding that this fear is simply here to guide us. I think of us driving down the road, and we tend to get more and more protective cars as we're going down the road to try to protect ourselves. Imagine if fear is your best friend in the passenger seat. And you're going along for a ride, and you turn to fear, and you say, Fear. Maybe we call fear John. John, what do you have to tell us? Well, I'm concerned about my income. I'm concerned about my time commitments. I'm concerned about what's going to happen when I age. I'm concerned about my health. Whoa, John. What if we breathe into each of those things, and we actually have a discourse? I'm concerned about my income. What does that actually look like? What can we do about it? Let me actually breathe into that rather than to try you push it away. What we resist persists, and the body keeps score, which means that the more you resist your fear, literally, the worse we feel. It starts with achy joints, creakiness, inflammation. That's fear bottled up. But if instead we liberate ourselves by looking at what's going on and taking a hard look, which is interesting because we're in a culture where it's more acceptable to drink than it is to experience life. It's more acceptable to numb ourselves than it is to look at what's going on.
I think it's important to think, when you say that, I like the way you say, fear sitting in the seat next to us. If we think, where does fear exist? Mm-hmm. I mean, we think about fear. When someone says, where is your fear? Most of us go here, don't we? That's where we think most of our fear. But I don't think that's where fear originates. Fear originates here. Fear originates in the mind. Fear is the mind working things out and sending a message down to your stomach saying, you better act. And that, it pushes it down there. And therefore, the information we get, whether it's from the television, from our politicians, from wherever we get it, it's information that comes in here that is designed, or that does produce concern and fear up here. And it then sends it down into our stomachs. So we've got to not only address the feelings of fear, and what tends to happen is that the fear originates here, it then goes to the feeling in our stomach, and we think, this is the bit I need to deal with. So what we do is we take this, and we turn it into anger. We take the feeling in the stomach, we say, I don't want this feeling, therefore I'm going to attack out, and we make it into anger. Whereas actually, if we realized that fear was originating here, then we'd have a different relationship with our minds. We'd start to watch our minds rather than just allow them to take over.
And I'll play with that for a minute. Rick Hansen, he's considered one of the fathers of happiness. He wrote a book called Hardwiring Happiness. He's a neuroscientist who looks into this. And he talks about how we have an amygdala response. Basically, the lizard part of our brain is always looking for danger. And either we will see danger out here, or we will create danger in our minds, past, present, future. We will go looking, just like you're saying, and we will hunt, and we will find danger. It's why you can have a beautiful walk. As we're going to be skiing in a few months here, or going cross-country skiing. We're going to be out in the snow. And all of a sudden, a beautiful experience can turn into a nightmare, because all of a sudden, our mind has latched onto something. And it starts going, and it starts going, and it takes on a life of its own. This is biological. We are hardwired to look for the negative to keep ourselves safe. If we go about life and we're saying, there's no tiger, there's no tiger, there's no tiger, and we get eaten by a tiger, we're gone. If we're constantly looking for a tiger and we see a tiger, we survive. So our minds are hardwired to look for this. The trick is, 99.9% of the time, it's not real. And so when I say investigate fear, lean into fear, look at what fear is real or not. What does it really mean? One exercise, I'm big into exercises. Right. One exercise that we can do is each morning when you wake up, do a little meditation, highly recommend that. Pull out a notebook, and I call it an ego dump. And you can write in the notebook all of the things you are concerned about. Don't be embarrassed, don't be ashamed. Nobody is going to look at this other than you, but be truthful. What is bothering me? What is on my mind? Get it all out on paper and then shred it and be done with it. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between the written word and the emotion and the event. So as you shred it, I call it better out than in, you are not going to become a seething volcano. What we resist persists. As we push down fear, it becomes the anger, and then we create what we're afraid of.
Yeah, but my question to you is,
yes,
if I've got a tumor,
yes,
I am frightened.
Absolutely.
If the bank is going to foreclose on my house, I am frightened. Now,
yes,
shredding the bit of paper that says I've got a tumor and throwing it all away and saying, oh, well, it's not going to do any good. How do I deal with that?
Okay, a couple different things. First off, if you say I have a tumor and you shred it, you don't get rid of the tumor. But we have coupled fear on top of fear here. And we can help dial back the nervous system. Yeah. I'm terrified I'm going to die. Write that out. Shred it. I'm terrified that if this happens, the other thing's going to happen, and that's going to happen. Tear it up. Or even worse, shame and guilt. I have a tumor, probably because I didn't eat well, because I didn't do this, because I didn't do this, the shoulda, woulda, couldas, and we really get down on ourselves. So here, I'm going to give you another exercise that we can actually use.
Me?
Yeah, well, you for one. I have a vision of you doing it, and I'm actually doing this for a reason, because I want to do a really brief version of what's called Eft Tapping, emotional freedom technique. And this is a way that we can dial back the nervous system. Is the fear still there? We are going to detune it. So, for instance, if you got a sore foot, sore knee, sore back, these all have an emotional component to it. Now, if we go and detune the nervous system, it doesn't mean that you don't have a sore knee. But instead of worrying about your sore knee, which on a scale of 0 to 10 is now an 8 or a 9, after you dial it back, you'll find the real pain is only a 2 or 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to all say a clearing statement together. And this is something you can do at home each day to help peel away the different layers of fear. We're going to say a clearing statement together. Basically, what we're going to do is short out fear. We're going to say a positive along with a negative while we literally tap on one of 8 different acupressure points that basically flip the nervous system into rest and relax rather than fight or flight response. Sound
Okay,
fun?
go for it.
All right. So the clearing statement we're going to use is, I love myself fully and completely. Let me have you repeat that.
I love myself fully and completely.
Even though, and now we get to pick a fear that we want to work on. Now, when you're doing this at home, you want to pick the fear that would make you jump out of a window, preferably a first-story window. But you want something that's an absolute 10. If we try to do something as a group today, what do you think, Nicholas? What do you think people are most afraid of today?
Security, their personal security.
Okay, personal security. I love myself fully and completely, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me.
Yes, yes.
So let me have everybody repeat that after me.
I love myself fully and completely, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me.
So I want you to get in your mind's eye, whether that's a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 9, a 10, whatever it is, keep that number there. And then we're going to tap through 8 different points. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the 8 points. I'll tap on them briefly. Then I'm going to have you go along with me. At home, you would take your time with this. You actually want to go until you pop, until you cry, until you feel an emotional release. That's why it's called an emotional freedom technique. We're going to release some of this fear. And you can literally do this if you're having a panic or anxiety attack, if you're tightening up, if you're getting sweaty, clammy palms, you can literally do this, or first thing in the morning and saying, what am I afraid of today? What do I want to start peeling away and getting lighter and lighter? All right, so the 8 different points, you don't have to remember, we're going to go through them. Karate chop point, so I'll have you tap on the bottom. You can use several fingers like a little hammer. Yep. Then we're going to go up and between the eyes. We're going to go just to the outside of the eyes, centered just beneath the eyes, just on that bone right beneath the eyes, center just beneath your nose, center of your chin, about an inch apart where your collarbones come together, and this is my favorite because it looks funny, wings, 2 to 3 inches below your armpits. I love getting a group together doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the statement out loud, and then we're going to all say it out loud together, and then repeat it in our minds till I take us to the next point. In an ideal world, we're going to move fast here. In an ideal world, you're to repeat this 3, 4, 5, or more times on each point in your mind's eye before you move on. And again, if you felt you were going to pop, you were going to go even longer with this. After we finish this, we're going to do a really quick positive statement, because once you've created a vacuum and you removed some of that fear, let's reprogram the subconscious and put something else in there. Everybody ready?
Ready.
All right. So the statement is, one more time, I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me.
I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me.
Repeat that in your head. Up and between the eyes, I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me. And you can repeat it out loud one time.
I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified what might happen to me.
Keep breathing deep. Just to the outside of the eyes, I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me. Repeat out loud.
I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified what might happen to me. Centered but just beneath the eyes, I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified
of what might happen to me. Say that out loud.
I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified what might happen to me.
Keep breathing deep. Now centered just beneath your nose. I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me.
I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified what might happen to me.
Keep breathing deep. Center of the chin. I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me.
I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified what might happen to me.
Center of the chest. I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me.
I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified what might happen to me.
Keep breathing deep. Last one. Wings 2 to 3 inches below your armpits. I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified of what might happen to me.
I love myself completely and fully, even though I'm terrified what might happen to me.
Very good. How's everyone feeling? A little bit more? Notice the numbers went down a little bit. So we're detuning the nervous system. The fear is still there, but we don't have the fear upon the fear upon the fear. So yes, we could still be very concerned about the tumor, but now we're not in a freaked out, endless loop of fear, and we can think more clearly. And not to blame a tumor on anybody, there's no such thing, but we don't have to feed it with additional fear. Now we can do really quickly, and this you can do in your home, at home, we can replace it with a positive. Whatever looks like, whatever comes to you. We're just going to whip through this really quickly. We're going to go through each of these points together. And Nicholas, I'm going to go halfway through, and I want to see if anything comes to you. Because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to some positive statements, and then I want to see if I can actually throw the baton over to you.
Okay.
And have you take some positive statements. So, is everybody ready? I am loved.
I am loved.
I am okay.
I'm okay.
I am surrounded by goodness.
I'm surrounded by goodness.
Everything is okay.
Everything is okay.
I am loved.
I am loved.
I am protected.
I am protected.
I am safe.
I am safe.
I am secure.
I am secure.
Do you want to keep going with statements? I'll drive.
Well, I think what I'd like to say is I think this can be done at, when if you've got a practice at home, a meditation practice or an ordinary practice, I think one can do this as part of that practice. Because I think what it's doing, and I love what you say, it's taking fear from being fear on fear. Yes. And I think the main thing that really comes to me from that is the fear that we have of outcomes in our lives. We look ahead at what outcomes might be, and that's when we put fear on fear. And I'm going to just give you an opportunity for you guys, if you want to come back at us with anything, just put your hands up in a moment. Just to any thoughts you've got about what we're saying. But this idea of outcomes, I think, is really important, because we look at an outcome and we think we know the effect it's going to have, and therefore we fear the outcome.
Attachment.
We have an attachment. There's a lovely story that I know about Chang, the Chinese farmer. And Chang had a Chinese farmer, lived in the 13th century, and he had a farm, but he had one horse. And what happened was one morning he got up, And his one horse had jumped over the fence and disappeared off into the mountains. And it was his one horse. And all Chang's friends came round to him and said, Chang, how awful for you. Your one horse has gone. What bad luck. And Chang said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? Because actually a week later, Chang got up in the morning and there was his horse with 10 other wild horses that had come down from the fields that he brought from the mountains. And his friends came around and said, Chang, you've got 12 horses, 11 horses now. What good luck. Chang said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? Because the very next day, Chang's one and only son got up and decided to train the horses to break them in. And he got on the first horse, was thrown off, and broke his leg, a compound fracture, really badly. So all his friends came around and said, Chang, what bad luck, your one and only son. Good luck, bad luck, who knows, said Chang. Because the next week, war was declared by the emperor. And all the soldiers came round and took all the young men from the village to fight in the war, except Chang's son, because Chang's son had broken his leg and couldn't go. You never know what the outcome is going to be. You may have a terrible situation that's come your way. Someone defaults on a debt. You may have that situation, but you just don't know what's going to happen. And being fearful about outcomes is the way that we compound fear. We not only fear what's happening, but what might happen. And I see someone over there has got their hand up, so I'm just going to come to that person over there, and then after that, we're going to come to Don over there. Great, yes, so.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I understand where you were going with that, but it didn't really work for me. It felt a little bit too simplistic, and I'll tell you, I personally usually think of action, like research, reading, some kind of action if I'm fearful about something, and trust. And when it comes to our political leaders today, I can't trust. And that's the biggest fear that I have, is something, what's going to happen to our democracy if we keep going? And I'm having a hard time trusting or taking, I am taking action, but I don't trust that I guess that action is enough. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I would say that, first off, when it comes to politics, I look at it as a two-step dance. Step number one, and what you just experienced in here will be different when you do it at home, when you take the time, when it's something that has the most profound meaning to you. Something that's, it could be, I love myself fully and completely, even though I'm freaked out by what our leadership is doing today. However, two-step dance. First, we get to go and work on our inside, work on the heart, dive in even more. So that may mean meditation, it may mean tapping, it may mean writing, it may mean throwing the kitchen sink at it internally. Because the shift we make internally, what you see in our representation, as crazy as it is a representation of what's going on the inside. Our internal turmoil, our internal struggle is now being portrayed on the world scene. Doesn't mean we're bad, it doesn't mean we're crazy, it doesn't mean we've done anything wrong. It means at this time of great change, we have to shift on the inside. But the two-step dance is then we need to take action. Whether that's petitions, calling and writing senators, whether it's marching on the streets, we need to do things, not just say, I feel really good on the inside, I'll stay in my cave now. Quite the contrary. But I would argue that when you step out, I like what Mother Teresa said, if you have an anti-war protest, I will not be there. But if you have a peace march, count me in. How much love can we bring to this situation? How much light can we bring to this situation? How much can we realize, as crazy as it is, you get it because we're in church here together, we are all one. This is the hardest thing to understand. And so we can't be the one hand fighting with the other foot. But how do we bring love and cultivate the situation from there? Is it easy? No. Does it look insurmountable? At the moment, it's complete and total insanity and craziness. Can we make this shift? I absolutely, positively believe so.
But we definitely can't do it if we're not at peace here.
Yes.
If we are reacting to what is going on out there, then this mind is just being multiplying what's going on out there. But if we are at peace here, we have an opportunity to think about or to be with the situation. And it says in the Tao Te Ching, can you wait till the mud settles and right action arises by itself? And I think the idea that right action arises by itself and wisdom is there for us, if we're able to do it, is very important. John, and then we'll go to Andy.
So what I was going to say is kind of what you just said. And for me, it manifests, I will come up with these problems while I'm trying to sleep at night, and it will keep me up. And so the fear that is created is totally my own fear. It is created in my own brain. There's not just, the fear isn't out there. The fear is in here. I made it up. And so what I do is when I get up, I will write out the thing that's bothering me and do what you just said, and that is a plan of action. What am I going to do to deal with this issue, whatever it is? And it's usually something that's easily dealt with, but it's how fear manifests for me.
And do you know what I do when
and it might be what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you got a tumor, the mortgage is getting foreclosed on or something, whatever, but figure out what you're going to do about it.
I think that situation is one that affects us all, that thing just before you're going to go to sleep, because that is a big thing. And what I do with that, I'm a meditator, but what I do, and I don't fall asleep when I do my meditation, I'm there and I'm very alert and all works well. But what I do at night is I notice that going round, and I then actually put my attention on my breath. And I watch my breath going in, going out, going in, going out. And every time my mind wants to go back to the problem, I bring it back to my breath. And you know, I fall asleep. Because somehow I've taken the power away from my mind and given the power to my breath and my body. And because my attention is on that, then I'm able to go to sleep. Andy.
I just read Gabrielle Bernstein's book, The Universe Has Your Back.
Yes.
She basically says you have two choices in life, to live in love or fear. That is your choice. And I do think it really might be that simple. But you have to choose love over fear.
Yes.
I was going to say, it's all about choice.
Yeah.
The fear is always going to be there. Well, I can't speak for the Dalai Lama and maybe some other enlightened souls, but from everybody that I've met, the fear is always going to be there. It is, as you're saying, a choice to do with it. As you're saying in the morning, you get to ask the most important question in the world, and it's similar to Einstein's question, is this a friendly, do you choose to be friendly world or a hostile world? But you get to ask, when you put that fear down, what would love do? And that is the single most important question you can ask. So when you're afraid at night, I like to surrender it. Surrender it to the divine. God, source, universe, you take this. That's what would love do in that situation.
Yeah, for me, I totally agree with you. For me, it is what I would call it's emotional photosynthesis. That's our role in life, emotional photosynthesis. What normally happens is something comes on, we experience fear and pain, and we just want to blame out the whole time, and we just want to take it, we want to amplify it and go, it's your fault. That's what we want to do. Now, emotional photosynthesis, has that come to us, we then have an experience of being at peace. And like plants that create, energy and oxygen, we then take that pain and we transform it and give out love at that particular moment. That's what is meant by emotional alchemy as well. It's where you take your dross experiences, you have them, and then you communicate out love. And that gives a vehicle for actually creating love in the world. And then you become like a plant, breathing out oxygen. You become an individual breathing out love. And as an individual breathing out love, you have an effect not only on yourself, not only on the person sitting next to you, but everyone else. Look at the infectiousness of a smile. I smile, you go out smiling, other people smile. It's the most infectious thing there is. So I think, amazing thing, this whole idea of transforming fear. I really appreciate us having the opportunity to talk about it. It's been absolutely brilliant. Do you want to wind up and say anything particular?
I want to see if we have one or two more questions before we do that, but I want to dovetail off of what you said.
Go for it.
Because there's a Buddhist technique that's doing what you said. It's just putting a label on it. It's called Tonglen. And Tonglen is the practice of breathing in fear, transmuting it. As you're saying, we're all alchemists. We are all alchemists. And sending out love. And so my favorite meditation to do is to breathe in any fears, worries, concerns. Consider that a beam of light, of golden light coming into you. Imagine your heart as a giant sun. Think Son of God. We all have the sun within us. And transmuting and sending that light and love out to the world. And the more we run that circuit and run that cycle, the more contagious. It's mirror neurons. It's just what you're taking with a smile. That we will literally transform one person and after the next, and transform the world around us. Is it that simple? I absolutely believe it is, because that is choosing love over fear. All right, we take one or two more questions?
Please feel free. Anybody else?
Go for it.
I changed the mantra somewhat because I really am not fearful of what will happen to me.
Beautiful.
I'm really not terrified of that. But I'm terrified about what could happen to my children and my grandchildren. That is my fear, my nightmare. But I think probably the same solutions apply.
The same solutions apply, and you can be the example for your kids and your grandkids. You can be the light. You can share with them your wisdom, share with them what you know, and help them to learn, to see, to experience, rather than to push away, and help them to dive in and to transmute it as well. And then did we have one last question? If not, we'll wrap things up.
And doesn't manifestation really begin with internal intention?
Internal intention, absolutely. I think that's right. They always say in meditation that you come to your cushion with the intention of being present all the time. And I think if we come to our lives with the intention of loving, with the intention of being at peace, then we challenge the fear that's in our minds. We challenge the fear not to be able to continue. And instead, we come out with a loving and peaceful attitude.
And I think being awake and aware in the world today is setting intention. If not in each moment, if not in each experience, then certainly each day when we get up to live intentionally. How would I like this take to take place? Now, certainly there's a huge element of surrender. The universe is going to challenge us around every corner. But if our goal, I'm going to bring it back to what this beautiful gentleman said, if our goal is to have an intentionally loving day, then each curveball that comes in, we can go, wow, holy crap. All right, how do I bring love to this experience as well? How do I become even more loving through what just came my way?
Great. Yes, I see you've got one more, and then we'll go quickly rush to the corner. You can't speak without the microphone. No one here. Go on.
I have to press a button. All right. As a very intent person, it always grates on me when someone says, set your intention. It's like, no, get out of here. Open to grace.
Open to what?
Open to grace.
Open
to grace.
I think that's a beautiful
Whoever
thing.
she is.
That's a beautiful thing to end on. To be open to grace. And there is, I hate to say, but there is an intention to being open to grace. But I think actually being open to grace, this, we are out of control. But if you're open to grace, you're open to, that loving universe that Einstein's talking about, then we go forward. We'd like to thank you so much for being with us on this first show. And thank you very much for watching.
Yes, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to check us out. The URL for the Aspen Chapel is
aspenchapel.org.
and inspirenationshow.com. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, loving, what would love do day ahead, and above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Thank you guys so much. Hello, bright and shiny beacon of light. I hope so much you enjoyed the show. Since we're trying something new, we'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments, suggestions, questions, and if you enjoyed the show, future topics you'd like to hear on future episodes. Check out our other Inspire Nation shows here, subscribe below, and click on the bell icon to be notified when a new show comes out.